Welcome to a Tech Arena Fireside Chat. My name's Allison Klein, and today we have a fantastic discussion, perfectly timed for GTC. I'm joined by John Mao, VP of Global Business Development at Fast Data, and Tony Packaday, Senior Director of Product Marketing and AI Systems at NVIDIA. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for
Thanks for
having
having
me.
us.
So why don't we just start with brief introductions? You guys have not been on Tech Arena before. John, do you want to just start and just give a brief background and Tony follow?
Yeah, so I've been with Vast Data for a little over 5 years. Gotten to experience the early days and some of the success we've had over the last couple of years. Been very fortunate to be a part of this ride. I lead a team here at Vast that's responsible for our strategic technology partnerships. So that runs the gamut from working with our strategic software partners to some of our OEM partnerships, to NVIDIA as one of our core technology partners in the AI space, of course, as well. So yeah, we have a team. It's been fun. We've been working with Tony and team now um, more, I would say more heavily since the last 2.5, 3 years, obviously. But we have a long storied history with NVIDIA from way back in the early days of the company's founding, going back to when even before Mellanox was acquired, and now NVIDIA networking. So it's been fun to watch not only the company grow, but also the partnership grow over the last 5 years with NVIDIA.
From our side of it, we've been super excited about the partnership with Vast. As John's pointed out, we have a great track record of success. We have a similar kind of culture and DNA going on in our companies, certainly a customer first mindset, and we've done remarkable work helping enterprises all around the globe deploy and scale AI. For myself, I lead product marketing for the DGX business unit at NVIDIA. DGX has been around since 2016, and it's been, if you will, the essential instrument of AI. We're very proud of kind of where the platform was when it started and where it's become now. And obviously, with GTC here in front of us, we have even more coming. So we're super excited, thankful for it as well.
Well, I was so excited for this fireside chat because this really is the high point of AI discussion for the year in a lot of ways. And 2025 is going to be a year where we're going to see incredible uptick in enterprise adoption of enterprise AI and in specific generative AI. Why don't we just get started, Tony, with just providing some context for how you're seeing these pragmatic use cases of deployments proliferate?
Yeah, it's a great question because what we've observed is a dramatic unfolding of the landscape just beginning this year. We started with the advent of state-of-the-art models, which are really much more efficient than their predecessors. And we believe that these are going to drive unprecedented demand for infrastructure. If you think about the advent of DeepSeek and the competitive landscape taking shape thereafter. We're clearly now in a post-training world, right? Figuratively and literally. And I think many existing foundation models today can be easily fine-tuned to deliver answers with a very high degree of accuracy. So if you put that in the context of your average enterprise watching this, they don't care about pre-training, about building a great foundational model. They care about being able to take one of these state-of-the-art models that already exists, feeding it with live data from their business, and thereby fine-tuning and post-training and leveraging their ocean of live data to be able to get better insights and using information that's always up to date, which is core to what we're talking about today.
Now, John, Tony paints a really nice picture. Obviously, this requires a lot of optimized infrastructure to flow. How do you think this is shaping to address customer demand?
Yeah, I mean it's funny because going back a little bit to what Tony was just saying, we at Vast, we've been obviously partnering with NVIDIA, but we've also been riding kind of the market innovation trend here over the last 18 months. We've seen a lot of that training and pre-training side of the market just explode, right? So all of the large kind of foundation frontier model builders, we have many of them as direct customers using our infrastructure. So I think it's to see some of that shift that's, changing from pure kind of high performance infrastructure, um, for those types of leading frontier model builders, and what they're doing is amazing, right? It's pushing forward the innovation and kind of cutting edge models. But then those models, as they become more readily available, like Tony was saying, for the enterprise, those requirements start to shape a little bit differently, right? So it's no longer just about performance, while it's still super important when it comes to infrastructure for the enterprise AI movement. There's also other components that are now equally, kind of important from a software platforming perspective, and so forth. So yeah, I mean, we're working on a lot of this. We've been eyeing this moment as a company for the last 18 months as well. We've been talking about the enterprise AI movement. I remember I talked about this last year at GTC as well, right? But there's something that's different. I think the DeepSeek that kind of hit the news in January, their announcement with R1 around reasoning, and just the innovation, the pace of innovation that's happening there is bringing down the cost of AI, deploying AI for the enterprise, and that's where that inflection point, right, is kind of right upon us, right? So yeah, I think it's going to catalyze. I think it's a good thing, obviously, for NVIDIA. It's a good thing for companies like Vast. We want to see AI adopted by everybody. We think it will be adopted by everybody, right? And that's a good thing for business, but it's also a good thing for the world. So yeah, pretty excited about what's happening, this inflection point in the market today.
Tony, do you have any thoughts that you'd like to add here? Obviously, NVIDIA knows a lot about foundational infrastructure.
Yeah, and I agree with everything that John just expressed. Um, the cost of this real-time intelligence is an increased demand on data and compute to be integrated with best-of-breed software that can be embedded in mission-critical enterprise applications, right? That's kind of the name of the game, building software so you can use it versus, for the sake of building it. And I think there's some notion out there. I think there's an expectation for maybe some in the mainstream that with the advent of DeepSeek and state-of-the-art models that follow it, that this somehow means less infrastructure. In a way, that's partly true. But if you think now about inference at production scale, which is driving longer and longer context windows, requiring more and more memory, more and more parallelized processing for deep thinking and so forth, costing essentially more and more token output, tokens being the currency of AI expression. This is driving exponentially more consumption of data and of compute, not less. And what I'm excited about, what we're talking about here today, is a solution that presents itself in a way that allows customers to get the right balance of infrastructure and performance and value and being able to tackle and implement these state-of-the-art models.
Now, you've just described the fine-tuning and inferencing at scale in enterprise, and that requires new capabilities and infrastructure. Sometimes the complexity of new infrastructure choices can thwart advancement. How are both of your companies working with customers to help speed deployment, and what are some of the gateposts you need to navigate to get there?
Yeah, maybe I'll go first. I think everyone probably by now has a pretty firm grasp that there's obviously new infrastructure, right? There's new hardware that's required for most of these workloads and pipelines, but there's also introductions of new software components that maybe many enterprises aren't accustomed to or familiar with, right? Or have skill sets to account for, right? So whether it be in the arena of new database types, right? So there's new emergences of things like vector databases that are now required, to how do you better orchestrate inferencing and these models at scale, right? How do you tie all these things together, to how do you actually feed data in real time to these systems, right? And handle them at scale. So I think some people in the industry might view AI a little bit naively and think it's just about putting the infrastructure together and suddenly magical things come out of it. But the reality is this is really a workflow. There's a lot of software pieces that come into play that work end to end to build these AI pipelines, right? Where it starts from data, right? And it kind of goes through and it uses AI and obviously accelerated compute to index this data and then ultimately to infer and be able to search and to retrieve on that. These are not singular applications. They're not monolithic applications that you would typically be accustomed to in enterprise where you just buy a piece of software, deploy it, install it, and run. There's now an architecture that has to be kind of woven in, right? And that is net new. So I think a lot of the excitement that we have in the announcement we made around the Vast Insight Engine with DGX specifically is that yes, of course, we have this integrated kind of reference design from a hardware and an infrastructure perspective. But there's also the things that come around operationally that have to be considered, right? The ability to do workload orchestration, right? The ability to do operational management of these systems and all the different software components in between. So I think this is super important when people start to think about this is while I think the opportunity in the market is just humongous, right? It's huge for all of us. It will introduce some new technologies that most enterprises will have to grapple with. And here at Vast, and with Tony and team at NVIDIA, we're trying to make that as simple as possible, right? Simple enough to where most enterprises can consume this without having to bring on hordes of new skill sets and people, but be able to democratize this technology to a wide market as possible.
Yeah, I'd like to lean into the part that you just said, John, because I think that's super important. I think people are starting to realize that this is no longer like a science project, right? This AI and these kind of applications, which they're, driving top line, reducing cost, whatever the use case is, are mission critical and are now like first class enterprise workload, if you will. So I think part of the challenge of what we're talking about for many will be finding an enterprise grade way to run these apps in production with the appropriate guardrails while ingesting and learning from all their unstructured data 24 by 7 by 365. But I think for most enterprises getting started, it's about, a couple of things. Like they need a simpler appliance-like form that's easy to onboard. They need the ability to prove success and then scale in a cost-effective, modular way when they're ready using proven joint reference architectures. They need all of this with enterprise-grade security because its fuel is essentially their intellectual property and their customers' data. And to round it all out, they need partners who are AI practitioners themselves with expertise they can rely on. So it's that the whole aspect of demystifying, but also making it a robust enterprise grade platform that you can actually trust on a 24 by 7 by 365 basis.
Now, I'm glad you guys brought up the announcements because you guys made some waves at GTC this week with the extension of your longstanding collaboration. I want to unpack it a little bit. How has the customer response been to what you've delivered? And, how does it address some of those concerns that we were talking about earlier in terms of complexity of deployment?
I like Tony's word demystifying, right? So I think, just this past week, I was on a number of customer calls talking about this and showing some demos that we've been building for some early POC customers. And even if I wasn't in the room and I was presenting, a lot of our team that was in the room with these customers told us that they were all captivated, right? I mean, there's something magical when you start to see this come to life in front of your own eyes and you start to that aha moment where you can start to connect the dots of saying, wow, this is how I know this could be applied into my business. This is where these are the 10 different places where I know this technology can bring value to my organization. So that feedback has been very, very positive, at least from my perspective, in talking with these customers. There is still a lot of open questions, right? I think a lot of the reason why we're making this announcement, we're launching this partnership, this deeper partnership, is because at many of the same organizations, this is very, very, very Greek to them, right? In terms of not having experience coming from this particular space, let alone, I'm not even talking about the science behind AI, just the technology that's required to make this happen. In some of the demos I showed those customers, for example, it's very interesting to see some of the questions they ask, right, around who provides basic things, right? Who provides support around what components, right? Who's responsible for this or that, right? These are a lot of questions that we sometimes take for granted as technologists, but when you go into the enterprise, you're looking to operationalize this, it comes to the forefront, right? And so a lot of this is, this is a product announcement that we're making, but I think it is much more, right? Because we have an ecosystem that we built around both of our respective companies that also need to help kind of glue all of this together for the enterprise when it comes to kind of, what I call kind of like last mile integration, right, into those customers' environments. So it's kind of a wide spanning from product integrations that our two companies have done, but also enabling a new set of solution providers, right, that can go work on this. But yeah, I mean, overall, the technology has been very, very well received, especially if you look at some of the cutting edge things that NVIDIA's announced back at CES around some of the new computer vision models and how that could be applied to things like video, right? That's super interesting as well.
The other thing from the NVIDIA perspective is, this week and prior to and after GTC, we've been all about AI factories and the idea of having a robust enterprise grade platform that can manufacture intelligence, i.e., AI tokens at scale. And a lot of customers ask me, okay, I get what you're saying, but now how do I take that first step? How do I get started? Because I want to implement this stuff in production, right? I'm not about, building or, starting from scratch, but I need a faster, quicker, demystified, simpler way to get started. What does my AI factory look like? And I point them to this. This is essentially the beginning of their AI factory, right? It gives them a modular architecture that connects their data platform with the compute, with best of breed software that lets them then scale when their business is ready, right? And so it's a great beginning to their own AI factory journey that can follow our joint reference architecture and grow as big as they need, depending on, the use cases and complexity of what they need to run in production.
Now, I know at the heart of this, it is a product announcement. So, John, can you just walk us through the paces of the new Vast Insight Engine with DGX?
Yeah, so the Insight Engine, it's really it's not a product name, but it's really a solution name for us, right? And it encompasses and it kind of integrates a lot of the core vast data platform components. But at a very high level, it solves a lot of the problems and the challenges that Tony mentioned earlier, right? So for example, how do you have something that's continuously running 24 by 7 by 365 and handling things like data ingestion that's coming real time across the enterprise. So the Insight Engine is, on the one hand, an event-driven architecture that handles new data as it's created, right? And it has this ability to now kick off these workflows or these AI pipelines that leverages a lot of the technology that's found from NVIDIA under their NVIDIA AI Enterprise software suite, right? So we've integrated a couple of key blueprints from NVIDIA. Some examples include things like document extraction or being able to do enterprise search across, PDFs and Word docs and PowerPoints and so forth, right? To build that knowledge base, either for internal or external use. We've also focused on leveraging, like I mentioned earlier, the excitement around some of the video-based use cases, right? Being able to look at things like video search, video summarization, which unlocks a whole world of new possibilities that most enterprises have never even begun to imagine, right? There's one particular customer it just came to mind that when I was talking with them a few months ago, as we started this prototype, this POC with them, they brought in all of their different business stakeholders, and it was very eye-opening to see the different ways that those completely different parts of the business would use technology like this to help them in their own respective areas, right? So, but anyway, the product is also it's obviously meant to scale, like Tony said. I do like the fact that we have an entry point that allows enterprises to get started, but at the same time, we've been a long-standing SuperPod partner with NVIDIA, which is kind of the Rolls-Royce of kind of large-scale infrastructure that's been proven and validated and certified, right? So we can grow together with those customers, whether they're getting started in production or growing to scale, right? There's a whole bunch of other capabilities within the Vast Insight Engine that really facilitate a lot of these AI pipelines. So from an integrated vector database that we built within the Vast Data Platform to a serverless kind of compute framework that allows us to invoke some of these NVIDIA NIM containers, right? And these microservices from an AI perspective for inferencing, for embedding, and so forth. It's a very, very well integrated platform now that makes it easy, right? Simple to adopt, simple to deploy, simple to run in production. That's basically it in a nutshell. There's a whole bunch of other value. I'm sure Tony can talk about some of it too, that DGX brings, because DGX, for those who aren't familiar, is much more than a hardware platform. There's also a whole other set of software value that they bring into that equation as well.
Yeah, if I look at it from the NVIDIA perspective, it's 2025. And for those listening here, I think you probably care more about actually using AI than trying to DIY a platform, right? And stitch together a bunch of open source, right? And I'll break it down in what I think is kind of the most important things that we love about it, which echoes everything that John said. Um, for us, this is the inference appliance that will put AI in production for you. It sounds funny to call something an appliance, but you put bread in a toaster and toast comes out, right? You feed this thing data and knowledge comes out, 24 by 7 by 365, right? And so, first, like a couple of things. First, it scales with you, as we said, in a modular way. You start with a chatbot app, maybe real-time video search. As you add users and you need to increase token throughput per user while maintaining a high quality of service, you scale the appliance following our RA. And we have, with it, run AI technology to aid in orchestration so you can effortlessly scale in a linearly predictable way. Second, I'll just remind folks that Inside Engine on DGX is about live production data, namely it ingests live data, makes it AI accessible to all your apps with, as John pointed out, real-time vector embedding. We're talking no more, batch processing. You essentially have a platform that's about knowledge serving rather than data serving, right? And I guess the third thing, we talk about enterprise grade. You consider all the sources of data in your business coming from different users, different roles. As a unified platform, you want to ensure that the insights served to a user are appropriate for them based on the data that they're approved to have access to. So enterprise security is in the DNA of this appliance, right? And I guess finally, because we're talking enterprise grade, when it comes to running a production AI application at scale, it just has to work. This is your business. And you guys know this very well, and certainly the DNA of DGX has always been about a turnkey, out of the box, it just works kind of experience. Plug in, power up, run your apps in minutes instead of weeks. And I think these things in totality represent why we're so compelled and excited about Inside Engine on DGX.
I'm smiling because that's why I love Tony, because he totally caught everything I forgot to say that my product marketing team will kill me about later, right? But the enterprise security piece, being enterprise grade, enterprise ready, is so fundamental, and it's such a key pillar of Inside Engine with DGX because, like you said, I mean, we all know of those stories where people have tried science projects and they put up something inside of their own organizations and they index the entire corpus of their data, only to later find out that, oops, I now have everybody, all of my employees can see all the compensation information across my entire company, right? So that's not a good thing. And a lot of the design that's gone in and the architecture that's gone in into the solution takes that into account. It's not a manual thing that has to be accounted for by a data scientist. It is infused into the fabric of how the system is designed. It enforces a lot of those permissions end to end automatically, right? And that's super important, we believe, because if you don't, then what's going to happen is a lot of these AI projects, with one misstep, it's going to be back to the closet, back to the science project lab, right? It's not going to make its way into mainstream enterprise production. So thank you, Tony, for the reminder. Appreciate it.
It's
We're a
so
team.
funny. It's funny listening to you guys because the way that you speak with each other just speaks to the depth of the collaboration between the two companies and how well aligned you are. I know that our viewers are probably loving what they're hearing and likely wondering how to source this infrastructure. Is it available today?
Yeah, we're launching this, and it's now ready for sale. So it's basically available for organizations to start purchasing. And I think the official GA date is pretty imminent, so it's coming very, very soon. We are now kicking off lots of joint POCs already with customers, and we have lined up a couple of key partners to help us front end this as well. So
That's awesome. Now we're at GTC and some of our audience is at the show. So where can they access more information here and where can they seek more information online?
well, VAST is going to be has a big presence on the floor. I think we're booth number 733. Come by. You can't miss us. If you've seen us at a previous event, we have a giant Vastronaut. We call him Vinny. He's on the floor. We have multiple demo stations. You can actually come and see some of this live on the floor. One of our team members would be happy to walk you through it and show you a variety of different use cases, right? Whether it be enterprise search or whether it be a video-based summarization and search use case. We'd love to give you guys a preview into what this could mean for your business. And I don't know, Tony, you got a bunch of sessions, I'm sure, going on throughout the week too.
There's a ton of great content, and Vast is certainly there front and center, which we're thankful for. I wish I knew what our booth number is. Funny, it's my conference, and I don't even know if we get a booth number.
I don't think people will have a hard time finding you guys. I think they'll be okay.
Hopefully they can. If they don't, give me a shout. But
It might be one. Just kidding.
right, maybe. The thing I really want to lean into is the event is a great place to get a demo, right? Go to the Vast booth, try it out, kick the tires, see this working in real time. The other thing is a lot of our DGX competency partners who also happen to have Vast competency, at least the ones that do, who have both, you should talk with them, engage them. John pointed out, there's also already POC discussions happening. It's a great time to get the ball rolling on, hey, show me how the Insight engine on DGX works. I'd love to kick the tires, get a demo, go into your, briefing center, what have you. But definitely start those conversations at GTC because all the necessary ingredients right there, and our mutual channel knows how to put this together for you. So it's a great place to get started and then continue the discussion after GTC.
Awesome. Well, John and Tony, it was so fun talking to both of you. Congratulations on this milestone announcement. It's great to see. It's great for the enterprise. And I'm sure you are going to be inundated this week with tons of questions from folks at GTC and beyond. Thanks so much for spending a little bit of time with Tech Arena.
Thanks for having us. We look forward to it.
Thank you.